us from wherever you're watching us from. You're watching QTV, the Gambia's first private TV station, and we are broadcasting from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue. My name is Aliou Cisse, and we're here to bring you live updates regarding the shooting incident that happened at the Sukuta Jabang traffic light, where 2 officers were left dead and 1 in hospital at the moment. I mean, Sanjay Gomez and Pate Jallow lost their lives, and Nancy Jawo is in hospital at the Edward Francis Teaching Hospital in Banjul. And then so far so good. The main suspect in the name of Usainu Bojang, a native of Brufut, has been arrested in Jululung in Casamas. And joining me on this special program, I have Mr. Ade Drame, and then I will also be joined by my colleague Modu Gajaga, who is currently in Banjul, where any moment from now the security will be giving us an update as to the latest happenings regarding these incidents at the police headquarters in Banjul. Mr. Ade, quite an unfortunate incident. I mean, we are still following developments. 2 lives lost: Sanjay Gomez, Pate Jallow, and Nancy Jawo is
Ansi, by the way. Her name is Ansi. There's no N at the beginning.
Ansi Jawo
She's Ansi. Yeah. It's no exaggeration to say that this is an incident which shocked the nation. We are so unused to incidents of this sort. We're not America, where they can have 50 mass shootings, never mind individual shootings. So for us, it's shocking, it's tragic. 2 young men have lost their lives, and a young woman is currently in hospital with injuries sustained during that attack. For myself, I happened to, on my normal route home, the roundabout, where the incident happened. And so I passed there, which it turned out was just minutes after the incident happened. I saw a crowd of about 400. And as usual, I have to be honest, I assumed there'd been yet another vehicle accident. It turned out not to be the case, and about maybe 35, 40 minutes after I got home, I got a phone call to say, in fact, what we passed, because my colleague Buba Fati was in the car with me, and he said, oh, somebody told me that in fact there's been a shooting and police officers. I have to be honest, Buba, I didn't believe you at first, because as I say, this is such an unusual,
very unusual
thing, and so yeah, it's beyond unfortunate, it's tragic, and it's very sad that we're here discussing this.
And looking at the response, I mean, we've seen the president immediately convene a security council meeting at the State House, and later visited Ansi at the hospital, where they have also, made a 1 million bounty on anyone who could give information linked to the arrest of Usainu Bojang. I mean, looking at the responses from the presidency, the police, they have been busy giving us constant updates. Sure. This shows how serious the incident is.
It's of the utmost seriousness, as I say. We're not used to incidents of this kind, and it's not as if this was an armed robbery, where you could say, oh, I mean, effectively, these were people who were on a routine traffic stop. Because if people have a good recollection, just about 4 or 5 days before the incident, the police had told the public that because of an increasing number of accidents on that road, which is the new highway that leads from the airport, they would be mounting patrols to calm down traffic. And so essentially that's what these people were doing there. So this is the last thing you would have expected from something like that. Well, you're absolutely right. This is of the utmost seriousness, because yes, it's an unusual, shocking matter, but obviously one of the first things we need to do is to get to the bottom of it. What were the motives for this? Because it's so out of the ordinary. And
what's your impression with the way the police is handling the case? I mean, there was a quick, apprehension of the main suspect here.
Well, this is it. They came quickly, and they've been updating the public. If anybody checks on their Facebook page, every time there is something worth telling, they've updated the public. And also, we have to give our thanks to the press officer, Sisao, who has been updating us and the other media, keeping us informed, because this has been the talking point for this week, for the whole country. What does this mean for our country? But one has to say, I've been speaking to friends and I've been trying to calm them down. Literally seconds before I came in the studio, a friend of mine from Sierra Leone who has a house here said, what does this mean for the country? And I said, well, it's a single shooting incident. Let's not blow it out of proportion, shocking and tragic though it is. Let's find out what is behind it. Then we can answer that question. But I think we can't jump to judgment or conclusions straight away. And one has to say the money that was offered by the president and others was for whoever the suspect was, whoever the assailant was, for that person's arrest and conviction. I saw people making jokes saying, now that somebody's being arrested, I get the million. So, but it's a very serious matter indeed.
And what lessons do you think, as a country, we could learn from this incident?
Gosh, as I say, you know, I've unfortunately lived through several incidents of various kinds. I remember being in my office in London where a so-called Islamist attacked and beheaded a soldier, a bandsman, in Greenwich, in London. And then people started talking, you know, but that had never happened before and has never happened since. So from a single incident, it's difficult to say, based on this incident, we need to do this, we need to do that. What we need to do is investigate what has happened, prosecute whomever. And, you know, we're now told that there hasn't been a single arrest. There have been a series of arrests, or at least people being called in for questioning. And so the press conference, of course, will update us. But genuinely, I think from a single, this morning when I was discussing it with a colleague, and he was saying we should do this, we should do that. I said, okay, let me give you this example. A rock falls from a plane and hits and kills a Gambian. Because of that one incident, which has never happened before, you're telling me now what, we should cover the skies over Gambia? No, it is shocking, that person is dead, but that doesn't mean that you then jump to all sorts of conclusions, because as I say, we don't know what the motives were behind it. We don't know whether it was a terrorist attack, although we know that 2 people are dead and 1 is seriously injured.
Like you said, I mean, we don't know what the motives are, but then, I mean, how do you think, I mean, the police force at the country should remember these 2 young officers? I mean, Sanjay Gomez, who will be buried tomorrow in his village, Kitty, and of course, Pate Jallo today at his village of Kampasa in Fonyi. How do you think they should be remembered?
I have to say, and this is no exaggeration, as somebody who has a son, even my son is 37 years old, and I think about the fact that my son has been working for himself for 15 years. These 2 young people who were killed have just started their professional careers. For them, their lives were ahead of them. The last thing you would expect is to leave home in the morning, say goodbye to your loved ones, see you later.
Hoping to come back.
And then you don't come back. So for their colleagues, this must be pretty shocking because of the youth of the people involved and the manner in which it happened. Totally out of the blue, totally unexpected. 2 people's lives have been cut short. Their dreams that their parents and family would have had of them getting married, having children and growing up, and that's gone. And for their colleagues, this must be a very, very somber week. And for me, in every country globally, things happen, and that thing becomes a defining moment that everybody remembers. You remember where you were the first time you got a phone call about this incident. You remember the first time you heard about it. It is that shocking. And so imagine what it must be like for their colleagues, including those who were right by them or had just seen them maybe hours or minutes before. Truly, truly shocking, tragic, and you know, our condolences go out to the families of these 2 young men in the line of duty. And as I keep saying, we're not America. Our police don't need to go around with guns. We know what happens in America. We know what happens in America with people who go around with guns, including the police. How many black people have they not killed innocently? So it's not the answer and it's not a solution. But as I say, for their colleagues, something that will haunt them, because you always have these what ifs. What if I did this? What if I did that? What if I was the one? What if I hadn't stopped that person to approach them? You know, really, really, I feel for them, because they must be grieving as hard as the families are grieving.
I know you've been following social media as well. I mean, do you think this is something that people also should start to politicize in a way that, okay, you might be against the system, you might be against the government, I mean, but in this event, is this something that is justifiable?
If any of them are watching, some people should be ashamed of themselves. They tried to make political capital out of this. They tried to start saying this government is not keeping Gambians safe. And unfortunately, it started infecting some of our colleagues, saying, I'll be scared to go out at night. I mean, with all due respect, that's rubbish. You know, let us not get into that situation. But those who tried to make political capital out of this, they should hang their heads in shame. This is nothing to politicize. This is something that touches everybody who is Gambian or who loves Gambia, whether you knew these people or not. I get upset, I get emotional every time I think about it. And most of that is based on the fact of their youth and the pointless way in which they died. As I said, these were not people who were in hot pursuit of armed bank robbers or anything. They were just standing at a traffic duty, you know, essentially making sure that traffic was calmed down. For what? For our sake. Because too many of us are dying on the roads, and the police said, this needs to stop. Let us calm down traffic by setting up these points where people are checked. And I've seen it. I saw it when they told people, calm down, slow down, you're going too fast. And then something like this happens. So yeah, I mean, the question directly, I think it's shameful that some people try to politicize it.
And in this case, like you said, I mean, unlike in the US where everybody tend to have a gun, in this country, there's nothing like that. Hussein here, I mean, what do you think, from your own experience as a veteran journalist, I mean, what do you think the police or the investigators will be looking out for as they investigate this matter? I
mean, the biggest and most important thing is, did this person act alone? If they did or didn't, where did they get the weapon? Okay. What sort of weapon is it? How were they able to get it into the country where, as you said, you know, guns, this is not America where literally you can go into a supermarket and just buy it. There's food here and there are guns here, literally. I mean, I'm not making this up, I've seen it, where, you know, they sell all kinds of stuff, and next the guy said, oh, do you want to buy a gun as well? He said, yeah, you know, you show your ID and you buy a gun. That's not what we have here. So we need to find out how this person managed to get hold of this. But I think the biggest thing that has to be at the head of this is what motive led this person to do something so totally, utterly shocking. And that's, unless we speak, we've been told the person has been cooperating. And I guess, as I keep saying, I think the press release will reveal more. We all want to know.
Let's now head to Banjul at the police headquarters, where my colleague Modu Gajaga is currently on the standby for us. Gajaga, I mean, what is the latest from the police headquarters?
Thank you very much, Aliu. We are here at the police headquarters in Banjul, where the press is already seated and waiting for the police and also some government officials to address us about the ongoing issues surrounding the shooting death of two police officers on Tuesday, and also one injured who is hospitalized. And later on from here, I understand we'll be moving to Fonyi to bury one of the dead police officers who died in Tuesday's shooting incident. So far, that is what is happening here in Banjul.
So how's the atmosphere around the police headquarters at the moment?
Well, it's an atmosphere of calm, sober as well, especially on the faces of the police. You could vividly see them shocking as to the event of what happened. Sleepless nights for some, especially the senior police officer corps, who are making sure that everything is possible to do the investigations and bring this matter to a halt at some point, to make sure that all the public gets the information that they're supposed to get. And, you know, looking at the entrance towards the police headquarters building, you could see metal barricades and also some paramilitary officers in the entrance and also the exit of both sides.
So how is the mood among the officers there? I mean, what are people talking about? I mean, you must have heard people talking about the incident and all those things, but how is the mood among the officers there?
Well, the mood, by looking at their faces, is not so okay. It's a mood of basically sadness and with the way things happened and the information's coming out rapidly, dejection, and also the police are really flabbergasted for the events that happened on Tuesday night. They never saw it coming. They were shocked, and you know, they didn't know the motive, the reason why would a gunman target three police officers who are doing their job, that is to protect the life and property of the people, and just shoot them. And there were 2 fatalities and 1 injured.
Like you said, any moment from now, the police high command will be joined by some senior government officials to update the public through the media as to the latest in terms of this incident. Any idea who these senior government officials are?
Yes, I got a tip-off. I think it's one of the Interior Minister and also the Minister of Defense. I understand they are currently attending a function somewhere, but they are on their way, according to the police. The information that we have, a short briefing was made earlier. That's Mamadou Sow, who addressed us about that. Two senior government officials will be joining the press conference. In fact, I understand they are the ones who are going to address the press conference rather than the acting PRO of the Gambia Police Force yesterday, Mamadou Musa Sisa, who spoke to us. I don't know what changed and what are the tone of events, but this is the signal I am getting, and that's the latest so far.
And Gajaga, just briefly in the local languages, if we can just update our viewers and those listening, I mean, what exactly is happening in Banjul at the moment? Just briefly in Wolof, Mandinka, and of course Fula as well.
Abaraka bake Aliou Cissé baringol men ben jibe kan QTV mfela le jang Banjul police la kunda bato e office bato bi mimbe kala jang nyata do manding wala nyinti ko molle be soto la jang man sakunda la karola mimbe lola ibe diamula kibar tala le kuol mimbe kering be ngalon ko nying talata tambila sukuta traffic light Johnson wala sukuta jabang silo nyingkang police wal milka loje police saba e police sabol mole e bunkidola ay fula faje ay kilim barama kilim woni min barama muso nyi wo fele abe loptano to abe jararo nyi taka nje so ben tembe min to jang polisol ani masakunda dokulal sako mol mi an gollon kunu kumbati man sa kunda kono wolle bina lola jang pour ka fo kiba tala le kulbe tembe da jumal do mune keta jumal le da bije ana keta nyaadile anin kulbe tembe da jumal to wolle be kele jang nyaata do man dem Aliou Cissé su fekkee yaa ngi may déglu fu mu nekk nii mbokk yi ñu ngi nii Banjul police headquarters ci kanam tuuti police yi foog naa ak nguur gi seen ñaar wala ñetti nit nañ fi ñëw pour waxtaan ak taskati xibaar yi pour won leen lan moo nekk di happen concerning this police shooting boo xam ne ñaari police dee nañ fa benn am na fa gaañu te kooku mu ngi si lopitaan bi pour jël foofu fajuwam bi fu mu nekk nii si loolu lañ nekk nii dañ nekk di xaar police yi nañ nekk di xaar tamit ñu ne am na ñaari njiit ñi nga xam ne ñu ngi si nguur bi ñi nga xam ne dañ war a ñëw fii pour wax ak taskati xibaar yi lan moo happen and then you know what are some of the latest loolu la ñuy adresse presse bi ci kanam tuuti musidɓe amen heɗotoɓe enen ɗo Banjul police headquarters police aɓe office maɓɓe mawɗo ɓoyatano bete police aɓe yo laamu ngu yimɓe maɓɓe woɗɓe ɓe arat ɗo ɓe haalana enen ƴettoɓe kibaruji pour haalande en ko waɗi ko o Tuesday yawtuɗo ni talata yawtuɗo ha police aɓe ɗiɗo wara toon goto gañima hen on ñawtugo nien ɗo Banjul police headquarters
a jarama ñin tementaɓe police la bumbato membe Banjul la men ko ate mela ñi men ko wala kata Minister of Interior te Siaka Sonko ani Minister of Defense Serigne Modou Ndiaye ibe talaje pour ini kibatale kacca ko men ko wala kata ñi tlata men tamita dula men ko ngaji moytata ani kido ka fada men to sukuda jaban traffic light ay bundiro kaji ay police fula fa ka me Sanje Gomez ani Pata Diallo ani ay Klim Barme ka me ansi Jawo. Thank you very much, Gajaga. I mean, Mr. Adi, I mean, instead of the PRO now, we are going to have two state ministers.
Well, yes. Earlier you mentioned the president's meeting and this being the seriousness of it. I think for somebody who is an acting press officer, this should have been quite a major thing to happen so early in their taking over that position. So I think it's only right that it's coming from more senior people. And of course, this is no disrespect to the young man. And just very quickly, I'm glad you asked our colleague there to actually explain in local languages. And the reason I say this, I spoke to Binta Jawo, who does the Fuller News here, and she was showing me messages on her phone from people who said, we're glad that we heard this in Fuller because we'd been hearing something had happened and we didn't know until we saw it when you read it on the Fuller News on QTV. So I think it's vital that we keep doing this.
Okay. And in terms of the bravery manifested by this young lady, Ansi Jawo.
Yeah,
She could have equally lost her life like her two other colleagues.
she could
But
have.
she was quite brave.
Well, it seems that she didn't have any fear for her own life. Her sole thought at the moment of this happening was to actually, in any way she could, either protect her colleagues, which sadly she's unable to do, or apprehend the person who was responsible for their deaths. And you're right. I mean, it was of the utmost bravery. I know there are many people who, once you hear a gunshot, you run in the opposite direction rather than try and challenge the person with the gun. So, you know, we have to commend her for her bravery, and we hope she makes a full recovery.
And like you said, I mean, we wish her speedy recovery, but in this stage, I mean, she will definitely need some psychological support. I mean, having to recover from this.
You know, just again, every morning I listen to 4 or 5 BBC podcasts before we start the day. And so I was listening to one which was about the stabbing death of Sweden's foreign minister. She'd gone into a shop to buy clothes because a TV station had said, we want you to wear a blue suit for this interview. And her assistant and friend who was with her described it. And she said, you know, 10 years later, I still have not recovered from that incident. I beg your pardon, 20 years later, it was 2003. And she said, I was with her, I walked away, this man looks strange. And then he just lunged at her. He said, when I saw his hand moving back and forth, I thought he was punching her in the stomach. And she said, that annoyed me anyway. Said, so I ran and hit him over the head with my bag. And he got up and winked at me and ran off. She said, my friend, the foreign minister, I suddenly saw that her black T-shirt was slowly getting darker. I lifted it up and blood was just gushing out. She said, I don't think I will ever recover from that. And so, you know, I think we're in a similar situation here where, you know, people who have been touched, scarred, and the woman who was on the spot, who survived, you know, for them it's harder than anybody else, even for family members, because you were there and you start thinking, yes, I'm injured and so on, but could I have done anything to save my colleagues? Sadly, I don't think there's anything she could have done, but she showed unbelievable bravery.
And I'm so, I mean, that the arrest, of course, of Ousseynou and his, you know, return back to the country must have been a very collaborative effort within our forces and their counterparts in Senegal. What does this tell as far as, I mean, strengthening, I mean, the cross-border, you know, collaboration?
Well, for me, this is the manifestation of all these workshops and seminars we go where they say we validated this or we signed a protocol with that. Those are just words on a paper. The reality is when we deliver on what we've signed up to at that workshop, and this was this manifest in the best way possible. Somebody has tried to flee this jurisdiction and they've been apprehended and they've been brought back with no fuss, no big deal. They have committed a crime or suspected of committing a crime. We must keep saying the alleged and the assailant, the alleged assailant, until that person is charged and prosecuted. You know, but it does show that this cooperation can work and does work.
And in terms of the role of the media in this whole thing, I mean, here at QTV, I mean, you always emphasize the need to always get confirmation from credible sources and not just to rely on anything that you see on the social media. But it seems, I mean, most of our colleagues out there are sentimental and easily carried away by, I mean, unconfirmed news reports and all those things. I mean, what is your message? I mean, to
I mean, my message is, there, I mean, to many people who call themselves journalists or media personnel, you were a friend of Sisi Sawane. You saw her picture being shown saying that this was the shot Ansi Jao, when it wasn't. We know Sisi, we know what she looked like, and we know this was not her. I thought that was just vile, it was unnecessary, and of course, even worse than that, it was untrue that this woman had died. She's still alive. So, you know, check, verify. But I think, Aliou, we live in an age where everybody wants to be first with the news. Because it's like...
want to be the first to say, I read the news first, and then...
they call it the fear of missing out. FOMO, you know. And people think, oh, I don't want to be second. I want to be first with this news, so I won't bother checking it. I'll just hit send. Because it's so easy to do. You're on a keyboard or you're on your phone. You just hit one button and you've sent a message to hundreds or even thousands of people. But people need to stop, they need to check themselves, they need to verify, they need to get facts before they send stuff out. And not just to the QTV, but to anybody who's watching, who calls themselves a journalist. These are the things you need to do. Forget about being first. You can be last, but supposing you're last and you're the only one who has the facts, the real facts, then that shows that you have been diligent. And so it's not about being first, it's about being accurate.
And equally, I know if you've been following developments, I mean, you have had the interview that the government spokesperson Sankare granted to one of the local radio stations here, I mean, where he said, I mean, the main suspect here in the name of Usman Usainu Bojang is cooperating with the investigators, and he went further to make certain revelations. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
do you think it was appropriate for the government spokesperson to come out and make some of these revelations, or he should have just to wait for the investigators to come out and tell us what exactly they have found out?
Let me put it this way.
Avoid contradicting what the investigators might tell us.
Let me put it this way.
Yeah.
It would have been inappropriate even for the president to come out with that statement.
Yeah.
These are things that should have been revealed by the investigators and the police.
Okay.
Because there's a danger that you might end up prejudicing a case or revealing more than should be revealed beyond a certain point. There are certain people who are tasked with this. You can comment on it. You can mention the fact that this is shocking, this is tragic, and this has happened. But that interview, we've all seen or heard it. It went beyond that. And one hopes it doesn't happen again.
Okay. And like I said, I mean, we have seen equally the National Assembly, the Speaker, I mean, of course, even the Supreme Islamic Council, I mean, they have all issued statements condemning the incident and calling for, I mean, for actions to be taken. But in looking at the incident that happened, I mean, relating it to the ongoing security sector reform, I mean, do they have any?
Yeah, I mean, security sector reform, I seem to be when I get on any platform, I seem to be the only one who's saying, let's take our time and do it right. Yeah. And I have this phrase, do it right rather than do it right now. And I keep repeating this. It's not going to happen overnight. We're trying to address the dysfunctionality that happened under 2 years of dysfunctionality. It cannot be done overnight, and we have to be patient. And we have to be patient, and I'm giving them some slack, saying they're taking their time because they want to get it right, rather than just push something out and then a year later we're all saying, oh, they should have waited for this. And I have to say, I only have 2 pieces of paper here, but in fact I was trying to print out all the press releases from all the political parties, and one has to commend them. They have all come out, they have condemned the act, they have offered their condolences, they have offered calls for calm at the same time as they're offering calls for this to be investigated thoroughly, and for those who are found to be responsible to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. So I think one has to commend the political parties, and none of them have issued press releases in any way that has tried to make political capital out of this. But in terms of the security sector reform, again, I appeal to Gambians, let's be patient, let's get it right, rather than do it right now.
I mean, from your own experience, I mean, of similar incidents that have happened outside the country, do you believe, or do you think in most cases this is done by an individual, or they usually have accomplices? From the experience, from the previous incidents you have witnessed?
There have been many, both in Sierra Leone and the United Kingdom, where initially you think only one person was responsible. And then when you scratch beneath the surface, you find that actually that person might have been the individual who carried out the act, but they had accomplices who helped them do it. It might be somebody who drove them to the spot. It might be somebody who inspired them to go and do what they did, even though they're the ones who carried out the physical act. That doesn't mean that they acted alone necessarily. And again, I'm not trying to build up any kind of conspiracy theory, but in cases across the years, that has proven to be the case. The one person who carried out the shocking act isn't necessarily the only person involved in bringing that act into being. And so I think that is one of the things that we have to consider, because sometimes people get blinded and they only focus on the one person who did this terrible thing. No, we need to look further and to see what is behind it. And I keep using the word motive, and that motive might have been one that the individual who carried out the act came to in conjunction with others. And that's something we have to look. We cannot ignore that possible fact.
Well, viewers, you're watching QTV, the Gambia's first private TV station, and we're broadcasting from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue as we bring you the live updates from the police headquarters, where any moment from now, I mean, the police high command, joined by senior government officials, including the two ministers of state, of course, the Minister of Interior, Siaka Sonko, and the Minister of Defense, Sering Modinjai, will be updating the public through the media regarding the latest developments on last Tuesday's shooting, which happened at the Sukuta Jabang traffic light, which left two officers, police officers, dead in the names of Sanjay Gomez from Kitty and Pate Jallo from Fonyi Kampasa. And of course, one is injured. I mean, that's Ansi Jao, who is currently at the Edward Francis Tumotijeng Hospital. As we understand, I mean, Pate Jallo will be laid to rest today in his home village of Fonyi Kampasa, and then Sanjay Gomez will be laid to rest tomorrow, Saturday, at his village of Kitty in Kombo. The main suspect here, Usainu Bojang, who, as you understand from reports, is a native of Brufut, has been arrested in Jululung, in Casamas, and is currently with the police helping in the investigation. We understand there are also other arrests have also been made by the police. But we are monitoring, and like I said, any moment from now, we will head to the police headquarters in Banjul, where my colleague Modu Gajaga is there to bring us up to speed as to whatever is happening regarding the updates from the from the two state ministers, Minister of Interior and Minister of Defense. I mean, Mr. Ali, now coming back to the actual press conference that the two ministers will be having with the media shortly. I mean, you've been in the media. I mean, how do you think they will handle this?
Yeah, I mean, I was once a senior press officer for the
so
government
that's why I'm really,
back in England.
Exactly.
Yeah. And, when you have something like this, you have to set the right tone. You don't want your ministers to come and be emotional. They have to be practical. And I say this based on, I keep saying, the youth of these young people and having their lives cut short is one that will upset anybody and should upset everybody who has a love of that young people should be allowed to live their lives. So I want the ministers to set the tone, stick to the facts, and hopefully they will take questions from the media. But one of the things we always used to warn ministers whenever they were doing press conferences, if it's regarding a court case, don't say or do anything that will end up prejudicing the court case. Because if that person has a good lawyer, they will say what that minister said has influenced my trial, and so I want this struck out. And it has happened, sad to say. And so the ministers have to just stick to the facts and not judge the case already. And I say this because it's no insult to the ministers, but I go back to the fact that we are talking about something that has never happened here. And so it's not something they're used to dealing with. They're not used to coming out, speaking to the press where there's been a shooting in which one person is injured and two dead. So they need to be careful how they phrase what they're going to say. Hopefully, of course, they'll be with their advisors, and I hope those advisors are giving them wise counsel about what they should say about this ongoing investigation. And
in the case of Ansi, who is still recovering at the hospital,
she's watching.
How should they handle her situation at the moment?
Obviously she'll be under guard. They should immediately try and provide somebody who's going to give her psychological support, because honestly, this is not something you want to go through. You want to see. I've been next to somebody who just died in front of me, and I will never forget it. So let alone somebody that has died, and that wasn't even in a violent situation necessarily, let alone the violence that was involved here. We don't have lots of psychiatrists and psychologists, but even if we have to fly somebody in, we have to do that, because she is going to need that, and she will need our prayers and our support, and we're definitely offering that to her, and I keep saying we commend her for her bravery.
And still on the issue, I asked this question earlier on, but I get you skipped it. I mean, like, how should we remember these two fallen officers? Should we perhaps try to rename the runabout after them, or try to rename it after the day the incident happened?
That is something that I think will come in time. And for many people, the date will be one that we will never forget. And I would say that on the anniversary of their deaths, we remember them in some specific way, because these are people who, they were doing their duty. They were doing their work. It's like you and I going to cover a story, and our colleagues are back in the studio and we get a phone call to say, they died. I know that in the police or in the military, that's slightly different. But I think we have to remember them in a way that is befitting, that is honorable, that would honor their memories. And as you rightly said, either the roundabout, or I'm now told there's actually going to be a flyover over that section because it can get so congested. I think, you know, that would be something that would be befitting. And just very quickly, I will say that for me, one of the most shocking aspects of the whole incident is that if people know where this happened, they know that this is always a very, very busy spot, night or day. There's always between tens to hundreds of people there, people getting off vehicles. It's unfortunate. You know, that again, this was not the eyewitnesses, really brings us they had it in them, and unfortunately sometimes fingers start pointing at you as if somehow you were involved. And I would say, you know, unless family members end up being arrested and detained, I don't think the public should turn on the family. They didn't do this. What we should concentrate on is the individual who did it and those who were in cahoots. It doesn't necessarily mean that anybody who was involved is a family member, but for the family, you know, they would have to deal with the fact that a member of their family has done something so shocking and terrible, and they will never be able to forget that either. So, but obviously the people who will feel this the most are the relatives of those who were killed and injured.
And also emotions are still high, I mean, regarding this. But now let's head to Banjul, to the police headquarters, where they're briefing the press. Let's take a listen.
Condition. We'll have the Inspector General of Police, the National Security Advisor, and the Minister for Interior. I now have the honor to invite the Deputy Inspector of General Police Force, Mamadou Sow.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين إنا لله وإنا عليه راجعون إنا لله وإنا عليه راجعون. Honorable Minister of the Interior, National Security Advisor of the Republic of the Gambia, colleagues, senior police officers here present, the police senior management, the media fraternity here present, our press and public relation officer, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols duly and respectfully observed. You are all welcome to this press briefing at the police headquarters here. I am Mamadou Sow, Deputy Inspector General of Police, Gambia Police, standing in for the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Abdoulaye Sanyang, who unfortunately is out of town. But as I am talking to you, he's on airborne. Probably within the next hours, he should be within the source of this country. Having said that, we put this gathering together for just one single purpose, that is through you, who has the platform to reach out to the general public, to the citizen of this country and non-citizen of this country, to ensure we put you ahead. But first and foremost, before I proceed, I want to extend my sincere condolences to the President of the Republic of the Gambia, Commander-in-Chief of the Gambia Arms and Security Services, the Minister of Interior, the Deputy Inspector General, the Inspector General of Police, the government of the Gambia, the people of the Gambia, friends of the Gambia, well-wishers of the Gambia, the families of the fallen comrades, and all well-wishers of this country, a heartfelt condolence, and praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to open his doors of mercy for our fallen comrades, and also pray for the speedy recovery of one of our comrades who is still going through medical situations. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestow her strength back and give him a speedy recovery. On that note, I just want to give you a synopsis of the ugly incident of the 12th of September 2023, as purportedly reported by various platforms here present and not present. But I just want to share this word of caution. We did share information lines to the general public in respect of information and in assisting for the speedy and effective investigation. But I have noticed with dismay that there are a lot of informations going on the media, and they are not helpful. I think the source and the direction of all those information should have been transmitted to the police, or the police be informed, in order to harvest those informations and eventually put them into perspective, put them into use to help the situation. But not only sitting in your own comfort zone, releasing information that is unrefined. And some of you who work in the media fraternity would attest to this fact, that information is very powerful and is very dangerous. In a sense, if it is not carefully checked, can lead into very, very serious situations. So having said that, we've lost 2 male police officers, Private or Police Constable Pate Jallo and Police Constable Sangye Mende Gomez. Police Constable Sangye Gomez, WPC Ansi Jao, a brave, determined, gallant, and very illustrious WPC, who is recovering from her predicament. And unfortunately, since the onset, up to today, this morning, there are reports circulating in the social media that she has succumbed to her injuries, which is definitely uncalled for, definitely inhuman, and definitely far from the truth. I would like to tell you from this point where I'm standing now, she is out of danger and recovering well and responding to treatment as it is required to be. So being the case, this is why I have started with that bottom of telling us how information is dangerous and how information is powerful and how deadly information is. So if it is not gone to the real root, it might cause some complications. So having said that, I'll get into some of the synopsis of how the events has unfolded. There are other reports also that are circulating within the media, which is unfounded, unrefined, unhealthy, and desire to smear and intimidate, harass, or even to the extent of terrorizing the society, which are seriously unfounded. As far as we know, here is the truth, and this is the truth, and the whole truth. On that fateful day, we noticed a significant amount of telephone traffic from the suspect and a lot of callers between the hours of 1900 or 1800 to 2100 hours. A high volume of telephone traffic. All right? I want to seize this indulgence also to apologize on behalf of us to the general public and to you, the media here, because I will use acronyms here that are coded and probably is only those who are working in the security fraternity who can uncode those codes because they go along with them. They are done significantly for only one particular purpose: to protect present, before, and after security operations, as far as security situation is concerned. So like I said, I do apologize if you cannot uncode those codes and you don't understand what they are. We can't present this presentation here without having mention of them. And probably it could be very much tedious for other people to understand, but that's how our job goes on. Like I said, this telephone traffic was identified on the grid 02854 Whiskey Echo 925. If you put this into context, it gives you Bruceville turntable. There's a cell tower, but it's coded as this, and these figures, it is only us who knows. We do that to ensure that we protect our future operations and incoming operations. This is where that significant amount of telephone traffic was going on, as per the suspect's cell phone. Having said that, few hours later, the same signals were picked up at grid 004 29902 Sierra Zulu and close to latitude 1310. You put this also into perspectives, it gives you between Sifo and Dimbaya. Some moments later, the same signals were picked up at grids 35593 Echo Tango 0441 latitude 1355. That is the edge of the Gambian border into Casamas. So that means from this point here, the suspect has been moving. And as a result of that, finally, his location was detected into the Senegalese territory, and that's where the telephone signals went dead. This is what we know, and it's a fact. Because grid references, most of us here, I think we have very few people who can measure grid references because they are coded internationally. They are used by militaries, security services across the globe. So, by 17 to 1800, we received the first signal of his presence. in the direction of Sierra Yeli, or we say Sierra Yankee, at the Senegalese border, 10 to 15 kilometers approximation of the Gambia-Casamance border, indicating a signal of somebody who is present there and who is most likely the suspect. The protocols were applied. Most of you here are aware that there is a 5-kilometer radius hot pursuit between the two countries. I invoked that hot pursuit through the Minister of Interior. I don't know where he has called, but before even, when the telephone comes, I put up an armada. Within 10 minutes, they were on the borderline of this 1355 grid reference, ready to enter. The protocols were worked on, and within 20 minutes, they were on site. Somebody that we did not identify at the time was handed over to us, purportedly being the suspect. We did not confirm whether it was the suspect or not at the time. But true to his own confessions, we connected the dots, and we suspected that is the very suspect that we are looking for. So in that, 30 hours now, so far we have significant leads that direct to a direction where he is totally implicated, and the weapon used from his own mouth, that he has been possessing a weapon for a very long time, and indeed this said weapon was with him the Thursday that court sitting was in Banjul, from his own mouth. Again, the dress that he was identified with, that is the dress and boots that he have led investigators to that domain, and all of them are recovered. So on the nutshell, for now, this is much we can share with the general public to tell them that the investigation is on court, and there are so many positive leads indicating to the suspect of being an accomplice or being the perpetrator of this horrendous crime. But these are just few among the lot that can be provided for now. We will continue updating the general public, the press, and everybody who lives within the territorial limits of this country. But a further plea, please, before you release any information as far as this saga is unfolding, come to us. We share it, we refine it with you so that it can be a content that can be consumed. And let's put at the back of our mind, like I said, information is power. Information is dangerous and needs to be protected very jealously and very seriously, without which it can provoke situations beyond our control, and nobody foresees that. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Minister, National Security Advisor, DG SIS, Police Advisor, Senior Police Command, and other services here present, I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. That was the Deputy Inspector General of Police, Mamadou Sow. I now have the honor to invite the National Security Advisor.
No, Police Advisor. You should have spoken before me.
I'll just give it to the ladies.
Okay.
Okay, I'll just say
No. You should be last.
I now have the honor to invite the National Security Advisor to brief this August gathering.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. The Honorable Minister of Justice, Minister of Interior, Honorable Siaka Sonko, the Director General of the State Intelligence Service, Mr. Lamin Jadama, the Police Advisor, Mr. Tamsir Jase, Senior Management of the Gambia Police Force present here, personnel of the Office of National Security present here, other state intelligence, state security services present here, but most importantly, good afternoon to all the media houses present here at the Gambia Police Headquarters in Banjul. Your presence here today is important, and thank you for honoring our invitation for this press briefing. The press briefing is convened to provide situational update to the citizens and residents of this great country on the fatal shooting incident which occurred at the Sukuta Jabang traffic light on Tuesday, 12 September 2023. Regrettably, this unfortunate incident has claimed the lives of 2 police personnel, namely Police Constable Pate Jallo and Police Constable Sangje Gomez, and critically injuring woman Police Constable Ansi Jao, who is currently admitted at the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital and is recovering, as the DIG has indicated. I take this opportunity on behalf of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of the Gambia and Commander-in-Chief of the Gambia Armed Forces, and the entire government and security institutions to convey sincere condolences to the families of the late Police Constable Pate Jallo and Police Constable Sangje Gomez, and of course wishing WPC and Sijao a speedy and full recovery from this tragic incident. We collectively pray that the Almighty Allah grant the departed souls paradise and grant the bereaved families the strength and fortitude to bear the irreparable loss. Amen. Admittedly, these are not only trying times for the bereaved families, but also represents a heavy loss to the entire nation, and in particular, security sector in the Gambia. But most importantly and profoundly, the institution where the 2 deceased belong to, the Gambia Police Force. As I mentioned earlier, we are deeply saddened by the shooting incident, which is a terrific act, barbaric, cowardly, irreprehensible, criminal, and totally condemnable by all standards of humanity. Contextually, the Gambia Police Force and all other security and law enforcement agencies are responsible for the maintenance of law and order, thus guaranteeing peace and stability in the country. In the exercise of this sacred national duty, these officers face danger to their own lives and safety, and in this instance, they pay the ultimate price with their own lives in carrying out this national duty for their country. I would like to applaud the remarkable leadership exhibited during this challenging period by His Excellency the President of the Republic of the Gambia and Commander-in-Chief of the Gambia Armed Forces. His leadership truly inspired the nation and demonstrated true statesmanship and steadfastness and devotion to his responsibility as head of state under the Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia. We salute him for his courage and the pronouncement he made in the aftermath of this tragic incident, particularly the assurances provided to the nation that the sanctity and the integrity of this country is uppermost and will be safeguarded at all costs. Additionally, the visit to the injured WPC Jao and the reward he pledged for information leading to the arrest of the perpetrators was inspiring and indeed remarkable. At this point, I would like to provide a brief update on the ongoing investigations being carried out by the multi-sectoral panel that was convened to investigate this unfortunate incident. It may be recalled that on Tuesday, 12 September 2023, 3 police intervention unit personnel of the Gambia Police Force, namely Police Constable Pate Jallo, Police Constable Sangye Gomez, and Police Constable Ansi Jao, were shot by an unknown assailant at the Sukuta Jaban traffic light between the hours of 9:30 to 10 p.m. The incident was reported by a taxi driver at Sukuta Police, where he was provided an escort to the scene, and the 3 injured personnel were immediately evacuated to the Sukuta Health Center, but subsequently referred to Nemban Clinic. Upon arrival at the Nemban Clinic, the 2 police constables, that is Pate Jallo and Sangye Gomez, were pronounced dead, while Police Constable Jao, who was in critical condition, was treated and transferred to Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital. A combined security and law enforcement manhunt was swiftly initiated for the capture of the assailant or assailants. A male civilian eyewitness, in the exercise of his civic duty, provided leads to the police and described a male person whom he believed was involved, who was a solitary figure clad in haftan, our traditional attire, and was wielding a pistol. Further investigators engaged witnesses who were believed to have been present at the scene and also scrutinized CCTV footages in the immediate vicinity and surrounding of the Sukuta Jabang traffic light. A lead was provided to on the sighting of a male individual in Jululung in southern Senegal, Casamas, that fit the profile of the alleged suspect, which led to the arrest of one Gambian by the name of Usainu Bojang, who is a native of Burfoot and a security guard working for a local security company in the Gambia here. He was arrested on 13 September 2023, with the support of our Senegalese counterparts and subsequently extradited to the Gambia. Usainu Bojang is currently assisting the ongoing investigation, which has resulted in the arrest of others who are believed to be accomplices or aided and abetted the alleged suspect. So far, as we speak, 6 persons of interest are in police custody, excluding the alleged suspect. The team of investigators are focused on establishing the possible motive of this dastardly act, which was whether it was a lone individual or a group. Further, the crime scene was well managed, and team of investigators will be conducting crime scene reconstruction to further determine key circumstances surrounding the incident. At this material juncture, I would like to reiterate that the Gambia is a country governed by laws. And no one, and I repeat, no one has the right whatsoever to extrajudicially take the life of another person. Law enforcers, like civilians, have fundamental human rights and freedom guaranteed and protected by our sacred constitution. These rights, such as right to life, personal security and liberty, and protection against violence, are sacrosanct and should be upheld by all as guaranteed by the 1997 Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia. Concomitant with the above, I would like to further emphasize that the investigations are being conducted strictly, and I repeat, strictly, in observance of due process and human rights as provided in the Constitution and in line with international standards and best practices. We have a new founded democracy, and the government should be commended for doing business in line with the Constitution and in line with the requirements and tenets of democracy. In this regard, we will ensure that maximum presumption of innocence is observed throughout the investigation process. By and large, the investigation will be impartial, professional, ethical, and would be conducted with strict adherence to the laws of the country. It is important to highlight that this incident is considered as a blatant attack to the peace and national security of the country. And no one, and I repeat again, no one will be left on, no stone will be left unturned in bringing whoever is involved, regardless of status or affiliation. Justice will be served in this case. In the wake of this unfortunate incident, the Gambia Police Force has intensified police patrols and community engagements to always reassure the public of their safety and security. Therefore, I equally call on the public to volunteer any information to the police that could enhance the ongoing investigations. The government applauds the media's role in disseminating accurate information and update, and further requests for the respect of the privacy of the victim's family during this very difficult period. This is a challenging time for the entire country, and we should all be mourning the unwarranted loss of life of these gallant security personnel. To conclude, this incident is unprecedented in the history of this country, and the government is resolved to ensure that it will never, and I repeat, never again happen in this country. And therefore, all the necessary measures will be put in place to avert such occurrence. I thank you all for your kind attention and will invite few questions. However, noting that investigations are ongoing, and therefore we will not be able to provide detailed and sensitive information that may likely interfere with the investigations. I thank you all for your attention.
Thank you very much, the National Security Advisor. I now have the honor to invite the Minister of Interior. Minister, please.
Assalamu alaikum. I greet you in peace. I, by extension, greet the support staff from the police, from the DIG, by extension, the IGP who is on the way back, the other services here present, and our friends, the media. I always say this, our friends, the media, we cannot be anybody to you, anything else to you but friends. Before joining service or taking up appointments, we are from the general public, and that's where we go back to. We promise to serve this nation and make sure that it is safe for everybody. Whilst others sleep, our young service personnel go out at night. When there was a huge traffic problem around the traffic light, Sukuta Jaba, it was felt necessary that they should be beefed up with extra security so that traffic can flow smoothly. These are considerations among many that the police undertake. There is no specific targeting of individuals. When duty calls, routine police procedures take place, and it should be taken just in that light, not as a consideration of targeting individuals. I cannot run away from this. It sickens me to read or to listen to audios where people were laughing about the loss of life and even claiming that more should have been done, threatening very nastily against people who are out to protect you. They protect all of us. But wishing harm to this country, like CDS Drame said, is not helpful. If there's a breakdown of law and order in this country, no one wins. Not the security, not the civilians, not the administrators. We all lose. It should be our responsibility to preserve the peace that we inherited from our ancestors, our parents. We gladly call Sardauda Kairaba, not because of the name, but during this time there was a lot of peace. Some time ago, another head of state decided I was not going to go. I'm not going to be derisive, but it's a fact. Many of our parents left, including mine, my relatives, fled across the country because they felt it was not safe. Can we jealously guard this peace that we all have? It behoves all of us to protect each other. I'll go further to say this. Whilst a serious case like this happening, I noticed a plethora of interviews, people going everywhere. Yes, you have a right to get information. That is what was guaranteed. But can you please tone it down? Because sometimes you go to certain areas, the sort of engagements that are made creates doubts or even causes more problems. A police investigation of this nature requires that they are not distracted when they are doing their duty. We know you have a job to do. There's a freedom of information in this country. But if this is abused, it affects all of us. Sometimes when crises happen, the worst affected are the civilians because the services, they have training, they can do certain things to be able to defend, protect themselves. But really, our brothers and sisters out there, they need the support of the services. Can we please show some love to the servicemen? I want to express my sincere condolences to the families of these young serving members of the police force whose lives were cut short. I would also like to commend the leadership of His Excellency President Adama Barrow. When I was informed by the Minister of Defense that this happened around the Sukuta traffic light, like many, I said, no, it cannot happen. But I rushed to the scene, and there I was joined by many other services, their chiefs, to assist in the investigation. I noticed at the scene so many people who had nothing to do with it milling around, and it is very dangerous. My warning, my advice, I don't know everything, but we have experienced some. Please, an incident where danger lurks, please, civilians and others who have nothing to do, please walk away. If you have information, share it. There's no need to jump onto the scene. You are not adding any value. Instead, you are creating problems. It is very dangerous. I remember there was an incident where a young girl apparently died from some alleged malpractice in the house. Even before the police arrived on the scene, civilians jumped on the scene. You tamper with everything that the police could have to deal with the case. If the case is unresolved, you turn around and say the police are ineffective. Whenever incidents happen, certain things are left on the spot that the police can pick up to assist them in their investigations. Going onto the scene just because you have a mobile phone, picking up shots and trying to be very active. I'm not talking about the journalists, you are professional, but sometimes it happens with you too. Try to be as professional as possible. Ask for advice as to how you can approach wherever you are going, and then, you assist. But any other way is not helpful, it's obstructive. I just want to congratulate the President for the leadership that he undertook to lead us in these trying times, trying to show us the way visited the hospital to see the injured policewoman, and also went to the mortuary to pay our last respects to the two officers. We are going to the funeral of one of them. It's going to be a very somber ceremony. We are very sad to go, but we have to go to show our respects to our colleagues. We'll be going there very soon. And just like the DIG said, you'll be invited, and the National Security Advisor said, we'll be inviting you once in a while to give you updates. In the meantime, could we try to exercise some restraint? Try not to be going into areas that you will be asking questions, probing into areas that can even tamper with the investigation. Please, we ask this respectfully. We appreciate you, but there are certain things that if you do, will not help. So on that note, I thank you all for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, and thank you very much for the earlier speakers. We are about to conclude this session, and before we do that, we want to invite few questions, no more than 5 questions, because the high members here would be part of the team to go and attend the burial of one of the fallen officer. Thank you. If you have a question, raise your hand. You can raise your hand. We see 5 questions, and then that's it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Then let me start with on my right. You come here, ask the question, and they can respond. Because the mics are here.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My question goes to the Deputy Inspector General of Police, Mamadou Sow. In your deliberation, as giving us synopsis of updates, you mentioned about the recovery of a weapon from the principal suspect. Can you go into details about what sort of weapon is this?
Thank you. I think you were not within the podium here. There was no recovery of a weapon mentioned by me. We said he was in a possession of a weapon prior to this long time ago. So listen carefully. I didn't mention of any recovery. Thank you.
Yes. On my right? Yes.
Thank you very much. This is Keba Ansumane for the Alkamba Times. My question is to the National Security Advisor, who earlier mentioned that 6 people were arrested, in connection to the case. We would like to know the names of these people and whether they have any connection with this serviceman. The other question is, we understand the suspect used marked pistol. We would like to know how did the suspect managed to get this marked pistol. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your question. As I have indicated during my briefing, other than the suspect Ousseynou Bojang, there are other 6, but I will not mention their names here. But what I can also indicate to you is that as far as the information we have from the investigators, none of them are associated with any of the security institutions at the moment. This I can highlight to you that yes, other than Ousseynou Bojang, there are other 6, but for sensitivity and the nature of the investigation that is unfolding, I am not at liberty to give you names, but I can also tell you that at the moment, none of them are known to be part of the security services. The second aspect of your question was...
We understand the suspect.
Yes, yeah.
How did the suspect get to have that pistol?
Can I answer that, sir?
No, I can take it. I can take it. I am not aware where it was indicated in the reports that was available to me that there was a specific description of the weapon. What we know is that it is a pistol. It's a firearm. What we also know is that the suspect have indicated to us that he acquired the weapon in Casamas. The suspect have also indicated to us that he has not served in any of the security institutions, but was a member of the rebel group in Casamas. That I can tell you. The weapon is not from any of our inventory as far as our arms and ammunition are concerned, but he has indicated to us that he was a member of the rebels and he has fought in the Casamas insurgency, and this is where he acquired the weapon. And unless we lay hand on that weapon, which we are doing our best to do so, we will be able to give further information as it relates to that. I hope that answers your question.
Just a rejoinder. I think I have made this point in my statement, that be careful of the sideline information that you have. Before you release it, confirm with us. No, you didn't. Because it's not supposed to be part of the press briefings, because we don't have that information. You did not confirm your information of a map. Where do you get that map? Not in any of the reports. So please, ladies and gentlemen, be very careful of that. Okay? Please.
That's the second. That's the third. I'm going this way. Yes, come. Okay, you can start from there. Yeah. Okay. My first question is, are there any connections between you and accused party? And the second question is, after this, can you provide the timeline for investigation and the legal prosecution? And the third question will be, just one, please. Just one. Just one. The first one. You're going to be the first one. Please.
As far as the preliminary reports, as it relates to the investigation is concerned, we are not aware of any affiliation or relationship between the accused and the victims. I think that was your question. We are not aware of their familiarity. What we knew is that he happened to find them at the spot where they were and then carry out his nefarious activity indiscriminately. But we are not aware of their previous engagement, familiarity, or acquaintances. It was just an unfortunate incident, and they were victims who were at a spot where somebody was out to do no good, and they became casualties of that. What was the second side? Timeline for the investigations, we cannot give you that. It will be dictated by events. This is not necessarily an event in itself, but it's a process. And in order to ensure that there will be no repeat of this, in order to ensure also that we got to the bottom of this, whatever time it requires, but of course time of the essence, investigations will continue until we are satisfied with what we are after, which is establishing everything that is related and associated with this unfortunate and tragic incident.
Thank you. We'll now have the last question. No. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, like, I'll take from the statement of the National Security Advisor. During the coup attempt, you promised that you updating, or you never did. So here too, you are promising us. I want to know how will you do that? Well, my question is, you are talking about timeline. You open it, and the Constitution is saying 72 hours. How are you going to respect their rights?
You are confusing two issues around.
And then the government spokesperson linked this incident as a terrorist attack. And I did not hear any one of you talking about that. Was he talking to the media like to make big case, or is it something that is terrorist attack? Thank you very much.
Thank you for that question. Classification of a crime as a terrorist attack is the prerogative of the state. We have classified it as terrorist, but yes, and you wanted assurance that we'll be given press statement. In many respects, when the promise is made, it's made in good faith. We will engage. We promise to engage. But for now, we just want to crave your indulgence because the bereaved family is waiting out in Fonyi. We are going there. The funeral is taking place. I think it's a village called Kampasa. We want to go. And it's a long way to go, the traffic and everything. So we want to thank you for coming. Please, we don't have time.
It's a short question.
Please, we don't have time. We have to. Please, yes. Yes, we just close now.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming. And this is just the beginning, and many would be coming on your way before the end of this. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, viewers, there you have the Deputy Inspector General of Police, Mamadou Sow, and National Security Advisor, Abubakar S. Jeng, and the Minister of Interior, Siaga Songo, briefing the press as to the latest regarding the shooting incident that occurred at the Sukuta Jabang traffic light. Mr. Ade, I mean, you have heard from the Deputy Inspector General of Police, so talking about, I mean, how they get the lead leading to Casamas. I mean,
that's right.
On on that particular day, I mean, there was a significant telephone traffic between 18 hours or 1900 hours to 2000 hours. I mean, on the main suspect's telephone, and then he was trying to use some codings here at security terms as well. I mean, linking around Sukuda, around Bruce table, C4, Dimbaya, and then to the border.
Yes, I mean, it was quite detailed. He could have left out the codings. They didn't add anything. Because once he used the code, he then told us what it meant. So just say Brusubi turntable between C4 and Dimbaya and between the border with Casamance. That would have been sufficient. We don't need the codes. But it was interesting that, telephone traffic was used to sort of track this person, because obviously I'm assuming that immediately after the crime was committed, the person then started making phone calls and moving. And it is good to know that we have the facilities to be able to monitor people in this way and pick up these things. He mentioned about being the kind of hot pursuit agreement that they used, which we have between us and Senegal. If we're chasing somebody, we can chase them up to 5 kilometers into Senegal and vice versa. And that this was deployed. And interestingly, he said, by the person's own confession. And he said there were significant leads, which have implicated others. Six people have been arrested. Again, he wasn't going to reveal the names, which is the right thing to do. The individual had the weapon for a long time. But as we heard there, the weapon has not yet been recovered. And we don't know what type of weapon exactly, other than that it was a pistol, a handgun. And he said there were lots of positive leads. So that was from the DIG.
And they mentioned that, I mean, he works as a security guard for one local security company.
But they didn't.
We heard from Jeng as well, talking about the guy confessing that, he acquired the weapon in Casamas and was part of the rebels there.
And that he fought in the rebels, alongside the rebels in Casamance, which adds a whole other dimension to this matter, because in the beginning there it was said this person is a Gambian, and you do wonder what a Gambian is doing fighting for rebels in Casamance. It's lots of interesting details were dropped there. From the press, the very thing we were talking about, get verification before you go. You're talking about a marked weapon when no such claim was made by the police in any of the briefings or any of the press releases that we've seen. I heard one individual saying right towards the end there, oh, you didn't update us about the coup attempt. Well, the coup attempt, that case is in court. What more update do you know? Go to court and follow the case. So, but to this matter, it obviously gives the impression that a lot is happening, and it's a fast-moving investigation, And they've been as good as their word in terms of updating us. The very fact they held this press conference on the day when there's a funeral for them to attend is evidence of that. So, I mean, I think, you know, we have to not just take them at their word. They've shown by their actions today that they are willing to keep the public informed.
Quite interesting. Thank you very much, Mr. Ade. Mbokk nga mi nak sran QTV loolu moo nekkoon li ñu il moo nekk update bi nga xam ne ñu ko doon jógee jëlee fale si police headquarters fi nga xam ne ki nga ne moo nekk Deputy Inspector General of Police Modou Sow ak Aboubacar Das Jeng nga ne kooku mu nekk National Security Advisor ak Minister kuñ denca wàlli internal security Siaka Sonko ñoo doon waxtaan taskati xibaar yi pour wax leen lan moo bees si wàllum incident bu happen fale sa Sukuta traffic jam traffic light fi nga xam ne am na ko xam ne jël na fetel rey fa ñaari police am na kenn ko xam ne mu ngi gaañu mu ngi si lopitaan bi an si jaaw comme noonu leen ko déggee gars yi ni ko waxee rek yëpp ñu ngi investigate pour mun a gis ne daal képp koo xam ne sa loxo bokk na si loraange bi ñu teg la loxo comme no ko waxee fu mu nekk ni ki nga xam ne moo nekk Ousainou Bojang nga ne moo nekk di main suspect bi téye nañ ko waaye am na yeneen juróom benn nit kan nga xam ne ñoom tam téye nañ leen because am nañ yaakaar ni ñooñu am nañ loxo si rëy bi nga xam ne moo xew fale sa Sukuta Jabang traffic light comme noonu leen ko déggee si gaay yi nga ñoo doon wax fale sa police headquarters ñu ngi wane ne kii nga ne moo nekk Ousainou Bojang moom ñu ngi ko téye fale ca Casamance te wane na ne moom mu ngi liggéeyal benn security company te fetel bu mu use pour def loraange bi nii nekk na fetel boo xam ne yàgg na si loo xam waaye fi mu nekk nii amaguñ fetel yi mënaguñoo teg loxo si fetel boobu noonu waaye tam ñu ngi wax ne Ousainou Bojang moom tam wax na investigateur si ne moom bokk na si nga xam ne mu ngi jëlee fetel bi fale ca Casamance te bokk nañ nga xam ne mu ngi doon xeexal rebelle yu fale ca Casamance comme loolu moo nekk li nga xam ne mun nañ ko fesal fii ci waxtu bi ni gannaaw bi ñu amee dat incident bi nga xam ne moo xew fale ca Sukuta Jabang traffic light mbaɗi ngolu wale kala press conference mi ko Deputy Inspector General of Police Modou Sow aning the country's National Security Advisor Aboubacar Das Jeng ak ngamne aning ñi mi ko atle mu Minister Siaka Sonko walning kibar talale kacasot num police headquarters pour que update ko mi ko wale kata Sukuta Jabang traffic light comme aliya moy ñamen ya fa ñamen angale kanto ñin tamento Ousainou Bojang mi ko atle mu di main suspect aning mo woro ye be police headquarters ka police lu makoy ila ñing investigation kono comme ya fo ñamin ñing Ousainou Bojang ya temuta Casamance de andin ila investigation kono fo police wale ko atebe do ko security local security company as a security guard andum fanan ala ñing kido ay minta pour ka ñing police wala pa aya soto Casamance de la mena ko adabe num kono mena ko wala ñing rebelle to melbe Casamance ji comme ala fa ñamon ñina be keri ñin tamento investigation bitaka hani sign and then ibe jikrin ko as time goes on ibe karla kamol update ko me an ko will be carrying ning incident of menkata Sukuta Jabang traffic light. Well, viewers, with that we bring an end to this live updates on the incident, and then do join me later on the program as we bring you live coverage of the funeral service of Pate Jallow in Fonyi campus. And my colleague Modou Gajaga and Korkaba, the cameraman, they will be heading to Fonyi from Banjul for the burial in Fonyi campus, and then we'll be back here to bring you a live update of that as well. Mr. Ade, it was good to have you on the program.
Good to be here. And can I just steal a minute? Yeah. Three things that the Minister of Interior mentioned. He talked about the audios where people are laughing about people saying more should be killed. He told people to turn down some of the interviews and the rhetoric that people are using in some of the interviews. And finally, he said, show some love for our servicemen. They're here to protect you, not to oppress you. So please, let us take that on board.
That's key. That's Mr. Adedram. Well, viewers, with that we bring an end to this live broadcast. Do join me later here on QTV for the live burial of Pate Jallow in Fonyi campus. Until then, see you later. Bye-bye.